Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. The Back Pages returns today, a couple of weeks off from doing it because of the way fixtures and podcasts have had to fall. But we're going to look through the pages and see what they're saying about Celtic, the unmitigated disaster, Neil Lennon's comments. There's a lot to talk about. Of course, we'll be diving into other teams as well as we go through these Back Pages, but it just gets more painful to talk about Celtic every single time we come on here. So let's see what's been said. I'd like to quickly apologise if there is any noise from the wind outside. It is currently battering against the window, so you might get a little bit of that on the audio of today's video. But let's hope that throughout the next 10 minutes it decides to be nice to me as we look through the Back Pages this Tuesday morning. I should say afternoon by the time this is up. We're going to start with the Daily Record, which has Scott Brown right at the top of the page here. Scott Brown, that's not Celtic, that's not us. Now, I don't get this, okay? So I'm trying to hold it up so you can see it. There you go. Hello, peekaboo. The 10 in a row slump. I don't know who we are. Brown admits this is not the Celtic after County horror show. This is not Celtic, sorry. Scott Brown admits he doesn't recognise Celtic at the moment. The Parkhead skipper is devastated. This team are 18 points behind Rangers after Sunday's loss to Ross County. That's not us. It's not Celtic, is what he says. Now, the fact that our club captain, Scott Brown, who's been a servant at Celtic for the last 12, 13 years, he's been here a long time now, he gets the script. He's been a fantastic captain as well. The fact that he's having to come out, and I know he's had a poor season, I'll acknowledge that of course, but the fact that he's having to come out in the pages, or in the paper, sorry, and say that on the Back Pages that this is not Celtic should be a fine indication to the Celtic board that we do not have the right man in charge. The club captain is having to come out with statements like that. And look, Scott Brown is as guilty as perhaps Neil Lennon is, in the sense that he's disappeared all season. He's not been the player that we normally rely on. He's not been the captain that we normally rely on. He's been in and out the team. He hasn't been good enough. And I suppose that's bringing in that kind of shared responsibility that some people believe that the players should have as much blame. But ultimately, it's the management and the coaching staff, I think, that has led us to this point. I've been through that time and time again. I don't think I have to dive into that right now. But the fact this is what we have to see on the back page of a newspaper, our club captain coming out and saying that, it's on par with what we seen last year with James Tavernier come out and saying the Rangers were scared of opponents in the match programme for Rangers. We're at the same point, if not worse point, than what Rangers were last year. I think we're actually 4 points worse off than what Rangers were when that statement came out in a game against Hamilton. That was the night we drew with Livingston 2-2, the same night that Neil Lennon was laughing at Rangers for losing at home to Hamilton. We have reached those lows. It's done a full 180, the roles there. It was only a year ago that we were ones laughing at that, and now it's completely flipped. Scott Brown back then was quite happy, Neil Lennon was quite happy to sit back, relax and watch the demise of Rangers at that point, but now it's us that's on that side of things. And if not, we're worse off. And now we've got our club captain coming out with statements like that in the press, in the media. It's very poor. And I don't know why. I mean, granted, there's been so many indications to the board this year that Neil Lennon is not the right man for the job. There's been so many examples on and off the park of why he should be gone as Celtic manager and why we should have changed. But the fact now that we have got our captain saying this in the newspaper is an utter embarrassment, because it should never be the case, especially after the success we've seen with virtually the same squad over the past 5 years. Of course, we've lost great players, Moussa Dembele, Stuart Armstrong, Scott Sinclair. We've lost key players, but we've replaced them. We've invested, perhaps not invested as well. The recruitment has been poor, but we've got a lot of the key talents still there. We've got a lot of great players. We've still got a fantastic squad, and this is what we see, and this is now what we see from Scott Brown in the newspapers. It's humiliating, to be quite honest. The shrugs don't work. On loan, Laxalt throwing his hands in the air at County's shocking winner. Sums up sorry Celtic's blame culture. I suppose people are saying there is a blame culture going on at Celtic. Players blaming each other, fans blaming people. Neil Lennon blaming different circumstances. Look, I suppose there is a bit of that we'll have to accept. But there's been a terrible blame culture from the man in charge, and that's Neil Lennon. He's blamed everything but himself over the course of the season, which is an utter embarrassment. But I mean, shocking winner. I mean, it's not shocking at all. Hats off to Ian Crocker, Andy Walker and every other commentator across the country this season for pretending to be shocked as the goals go in the back of the net against Celtic this season. That's not Celtic, that's not us. 6 words from Brown that sum up the complete horror of Hoops this season. It's one set play and it's those small margins that you lose concentration and get punished. Scott Brown talks over Celtic's Dingwall disaster. It's not good enough to say it's one set piece, to say it's a small margin and a lapse of concentration. We've had such a build-up of them over the season that has left us 18 points behind Rangers. It's absolutely shocking. It should not be the case. But we've not been good enough, we know that. Rangers have been good this season, we can't take that away from them, but we have been beyond poor. And we were crying out for change back in November, and the fact we've got to this point, I don't even think it's the worst point yet. Things are going to get worse for Celtic. We have 2 derby games coming up in which we could be utterly embarrassed, to be quite honest, with the way things are going. We look depleted, we look out of motivation, we look out of morale, we look out of energy, we look fatigued, according to Neil Lennon as well. And he looks fatigued. Neil Lennon looks done in. You see him, he looks clueless. He was sitting with his feet up, for Christ's sake, against Ross County. I don't think this season has still got another big loss in the cards, and we know where it is, and we know it's over there at Celtic Park if we don't buck up our ideas. And even at that, it's far too late to buck up our ideas. So it's just been shambolic, and Scott Brown coming out with that, it just makes for embarrassing viewing, man. A piece as well on Steven Gerrard in the Record, for Rangers fans who may be watching on in the video. Follow the leader, or follow the leader, as it says. Mindset coach McCaw pays tribute to Gerrard after 3-day Ibrox visit and says there are shades of Fergie about work ethics of Rangers boss. Of course, Gerrard winning the plaudits of many this season with the turnaround at Rangers in domestic form anyway, and then of course carrying on some European success that they've seen over the past few years. And Goff saying as well, Stevie should stay for years to come. If I could just get it in the frames, Stevie should stay for years to come. Richard Goff hopes Steven Gerrard doesn't swap Rangers for Liverpool for at least another 5 years. The former Ibrox skipper has been stunned at how successful the 40-year-old has been as Ibrox boss. I mean, 5 years. Christ, I don't think many Rangers fans would expect to see Gerrard stay for the next 5 years. I am still under the impression that if a job comes calling in England, he will go. He'll have a chance to double his wages, he'll have a chance to make a foot, set his feet inside the Premier League. And, you know, I think it would be daft not to take it if he's looked at the success the likes of Rodgers has now went on to have. And if he's got optimism of himself, he's got ambition in himself, he'll want to go and make that step. Will he hold out for Liverpool? Maybe. Maybe he'll know he can stay here and stay at Rangers. But for me, the gamble is just as big. Staying at Rangers and hoping for the same success as the gamble going down south to get success. I think that both are a risk. You know, there's not a guarantee Rangers are going to keep winning league titles, but there's no guarantee it's going to work out in England. So there is a shared, there's a kind of split gamble in both things. I think, you know, it's going to be a gamble wherever it goes. But I think that, you know, a Southampton, a Leicester, a Wolves or such was to come calling to Steven Gerrard in the next year or two, I wouldn't be surprised if he took it. But who knows, he might stay at Rangers, and he's certainly winning over fans. They love him, and he's certainly doing a good job of it this season. But will he stay for 5 years? Personally, I don't think so. But it's not really the big story in the news today. Lennon and Brown and such, of course, are taking the headlines. Finally, Daily Express, the same 2 papers we always go through. Fans will not accept Lenny Moore. Nicholas demands pre-title exit plan. Charlie Nicholas says Celtic must announce Neil Lennon will not remain manager next season to stave off a potential revolt from the fans before Rangers win the title. Express Sport columnist Nicholas believes the board intend to keep the under-pressure manager in position for the last 8 games of the season and then appoint a successor. Celtic's weekend defeat at Ross County was another nail in their 10-in-a-row coffin, with Gers now just 7 points away from the Premiership crown that they could secure at Parkhead on March the 21st. Charlie Nicholas, who has been vindicated so many times, sadly, this season by what Celtic have done on and off the park. A man who, of course, us as Celtic fans, despite him being a former Celtic player, have been very critical of in the past and been very judgmental towards his opinions. He's been vindicated so many times. Things he said have came back and been right. And this is another one I think he's spot on with. We do need to announce that Lennon will be gone. We're holding off. There has been a terrible sort of handling of the social media, and I don't think that comes down to the social media team themselves. Of course, I think that comes from higher up in the way that the higher up decisions of the board are telling them what to do. But you know, the fact that we've not had any sort of indication as to where we are next season or where we're going next season, and if Lennon will still be here. It's number one worrying because Lennon could very well still be here, but number two, it's just allowing our demise to fall even further and then make the job even harder for the next manager to come in. We need plans in place. We need to be attracting people to come to Celtic, and the only way we're going to attract is by getting rid of Lennon and bringing in a better name as manager, and we've got to announce that soon. So I think Nicholas, sadly, is spot on once again with what he's saying. We will not accept Lennon no more, and if things don't change, and I've said it, and we've all said it in the podcast as well, if you've been watching the Celtic Thunder, they're going to be in for a fright when the season ticket renewals come round. They're going to lose some amount of money. And once again, we've got the same story in here. We've got the Scott Brown, I do not recognise us. Damning assessment from Hoop Skipper following the Dingwall debacle. Scott Brown has been through enough in 14 years at Parkhead to know what's acceptable and what's not. So his post-Dingwall declaration of "that's not Celtic, that's not us" shows just how unrecognisable the team have been this season. And once again, I'm going to end it on that. It's not good enough. The fact that we've got this in the back pages of the paper should indicate everything that Peter Law, Ian Banker, Dermot Desmond and everybody involved at the higher-ups of Celtic should know to make the decision to get rid of Neil Lennon. Our club captain, who's overseen the winning of 9 straight league titles, should not be hitting out with statements like that in this sort of season. It's embarrassing. But it is what it is. Let me know what you think of the news. Let me know what you think of Scott Brown's comments, everything else. Lennon, just please, man. Please, just get him out. It's just, how is he still here? I just don't get it. It's so frustrating, it's saddening, and it's destroying our football club. And it's destroying everyone's love for the football club and just to be plain honest. So, hi. That's what it is, I suppose. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. We're nearly at 25k. Keep in mind that giveaway will be going at 25k as well. Make sure to plug the link in one of the upcoming videos. Bye. Like, subscribe. I'll see you all next time.